Shalom uvracha to everyone on this Thursday, March the 11th, I believe. Erev Parashat Vayakhel Pikeidei. The Shabbat, we're going to conclude the book of Exodus, the Sefer Shmot, which means that Pesach is right around the corner. Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the first day of Nisan, is this coming Sunday. And so we are almost in that last sprint of 2 weeks to go before the Sidarim and before Pesach. Also, I want to wish everyone who is ill refuah shlema, and hopefully that they can come back to their full strength. I want to continue to wish good luck and success to all those who've been able to get vaccinated, and hopefully we'll be able to see those who have not been able to be seen, so to speak, in person, that they can come back and join us in whatever way they feel comfortable and whatever way is safe. And hopefully that will, in Yirtzeh Hashem, continue with the vaccine rollout as it ramps up in the next few weeks and months. So this week is Parshat Vayakhel Pikeidei, and especially Parshat Pikeidei describes in great detail an accounting. It's almost like an accounting model of every single shekel, every single piece of gold, every single piece of silver, of what was raised and what was it allotted to. Every single thing is detailed. Every single thing is accounted for. Every single piece of gold and silver and nechoshet and bronze is directed to exactly what it was supposed to be accounted for. And at that point, they stop collecting. They don't simply collect money for the purpose of collecting money. It's purposeful. It's accounted for. There's a strict code, exactly what was needed and where every single thing went to. And it's interesting why the Torah spends so much time telling us about this very strict accounting of every single bit of money that was raised for the Mishkan and the details of the Mishkan. There's a very famous midrash that many point to in this context. In the Midrash Tanchuma, the midrash says as follows: Sheshama Moshe Yisrael medabrim acharav. Moshe heard that people were talking behind his back, and they said, "Re'u tzava, re'u shokayim, ochel mishel Yehudim." Look at his neck and look at his thighs, meaning look at his clothing. He has clothing. He eats. Obviously, he's being paid from the public trough. V'chol ma sheyesh lo min haYehudim. When Moshe heard this, Kevan sheshama Moshe kach amar lahem, Chayechem, mishan mishkan nigmar ani osei machem cheshbon. I want to make sure that you understand that I did not take a penny from the Mishkan. Whatever salary I received that God, so to speak, allocated to me, that's what I got, and that's what I live on. But I did not take anything from any other public funds, and every single thing that I do is accounted for, that every single penny is used properly, and it doesn't go to enrich me privately. And you have here an amazing statement that even Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest of all, Moshe Rabbeinu, Adon HaNevi'im, the father of all the prophets, the master of all the prophets, Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to make sure that no one had any questions. Even people who, of course, everyone trusts Moshe, but if there's one person in the community who has questions, that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for the health of the community. It's not a good thing for the health of the relationship. There has to be transparency. There has to be accountability. And the Midrash is based upon the very famous Pasuk. The Midrash says, based on the Pasuk in Bamidbar, Veyitem nikiyim me Hashem umi Yisrael, that a person has to be clean, squeaky clean in the eyes of God and the eyes of man, the eyes of the human being. That everyone should know that everything was done kedas v'kedin, perfectly, honestly, with integrity. The Torah, one of the great codifiers of Jewish law in the 14th century, writes, Rav Yaakov Balaturim, the son of the Rosh, Gaba'et tzedakah ksherim ein medakdakim achareihem. Righteous Gabaim, you don't really check after them. There's no need because we trust them. Umikol makom, however, Kedei shu nikiyim Hashem Yisrael, but in order to make sure that they are transparent and everyone knows that they're honest before God and human beings, Tov lahem shitnu cheshbon. It is appropriate that they should always offer an accounting every year, every quarter, whatever it is in the norms. There should be meticulous records kept, auditing. Things should be done that when you have a fundraising campaign, that it's used properly and that it's not, God forbid, used in any way inappropriately. Ulai lamdu, says the Bach, one of the great commentaries on the Torah. Ulai lamdo, or lamdu hatur, mi Moshe Rabbeinu, shenatan cheshbon b'nedivat hamishkan. This, he says, there's no explicit source except for Moshe Rabbeinu, that he gave very detailed description of everything that had been raised and every single jot and tittle. And this, of course, is an important thing in everything that we do. If we're involved in any communal institutions, if we're involved in anything, we need to make sure that there's accountability, there's transparency, there's a finance committee that makes reports, that everything is on the up and up, that there are other people that are watching to make sure that everything that is spent in terms of communal funds, that it's done appropriately, everything is raised. This, of course, also has to do with the tzedakot that we give to. We want to make sure that the tzedakot that we give to use their money properly, that there's not bloated salaries, bloated overhead, bloated this, and that it's used. And thank God we have many tools today on the internet to check that, where our money goes is hopefully being used as much as possible. Obviously, an organization needs an office and they need fundraisers. That's legitimate. That's part of the norm. But that it's not excessive, and that, God forbid, people aren't pocketing illegally or excessively, to make sure that most of the monies that we raise for tzedakot or for schools or for shuls, whatever, are used exactly the way they're supposed to be. And that's why, it's always, to have make sure that a budget is clear and the allocations are clear and everything is, a desideratum of any institution based on this week's Parsha. Some other commentaries also add another idea, which I think is also important, and that it made sure this accounting, and not just an accounting that the money was spent properly, but exactly where the money was spent. That this gold and this silver that had been donated by this group was spent to buy this, and this. It also gives a feeling of direct contact between what you gave and your portion in the Mishkan. There's a sense that the dollar that you gave, the gold that you gave, exactly went to something specific in the Mishkan. That's one of the reasons why sometimes people like to give, little plaques that this Aron Kodesh was donated by this family, because it makes you feel connected to this specific part of the shul, or this specific wing of a tzedakah, or this program that provides training for people who don't have training. Yes, it's important to give in general, but there's also something very powerful about feeling a direct connection, that every single member of Klal Yisrael felt that they were part and parcel of the work of the Mishkan. And that's also something very beautiful about this accounting. And there's something nice about, even in our own personal budgets, that we know exactly what we're spending on and what we're not spending on. Sometimes it gives us, as we look, coming close to tax time in a month, we're going to look, oh, wow, I really spent so much money on this. Is that really what it was necessary? Was it not necessary? Should I be directing more money to this versus to that? There's something very wonderful about that, and it helps us think about our priorities, helps us think about our goals, helps us think about all these things. And so Parshat Pikeidei pushes us to think about integrity, about honesty, as well as about the purpose of where we donate our funds and what we use our funds and our monies for in our life and in the life of our community. I want to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. I hope that everyone, again, enjoys the good weather, and hopefully it continues this Shabbat, leading us into the next few weeks. Shabbat Shalom.